Good evening. I'll call the Missoula City Council to order for Monday, September 19th. If you'd please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, we continue to meet in a hybrid format. Marty, could you put the instructions for how to access the meeting on screen, please?
Yes, just a second. There we go. All right. For folks who want to join tonight's City Council meeting, you can go to the city's website, use your favorite search engine, and enter the city of Missoula, and odds are we'll be right there at the top of your search results. There's a meeting button in the middle of the page, meetings button. If you click on that, you'll be transported to the city of Missoula's public meeting portal, and you'll see tonight's meeting on a calendar. Tonight is September 19th. When you open that up, you can view our agenda. You'll click on a link that says HTML or PDF. And at the top of the agenda is a join the meeting link. And if you have not used Microsoft Teams, you might be prompted to download the Teams application or launch it in a browser window. And if you are asked, please allow Teams to access your camera and your microphone, since that's how you would talk in the meeting. And if you don't care for computers and you would prefer to dial in, or if you're having audio difficulties, you can dial us at 406-384-6960. And the conference ID number is 387-736-445. And I have an extra pound sign on my slide here, but you'll only need one pound sign. If you're joining us via the phone this evening, you can press 5 to raise your hand to be recognized for public comment when it's called for. And you can press *6 to mute and unmute your microphone. So *5 will raise your hand and lower your hand. *6 will help you mute and unmute. And Teams will remind you of that if you join our meeting via the telephone. I'll let you know. We also stream live on MCAT and on our website. So if you just want to watch, we have some options for you there. You can tune into Spectrum cable channel number 190, or you can click on view live stream or video on our site. And I think that's it.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Our first item of business is roll call, and I will note that all members are present with the exception of Mr. Contos and Ms. Sherrill. We can move on to approval of the minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes? I'm sorry, I don't see, now that I'm looking, I don't see minutes attached, Ms. Rabine.
There are not meeting minutes attached. We have not gotten them back from our transcriptions, and we have a really long meeting. It's not likely we're going to be able to get those turned around in work for you. So we'll catch them as soon as they're ready.
Great. We'll hold those until next time. We can move on to public comment on items not on the agenda. Any public comment on items not listed on our agenda? Come on up.
Hello, my name's Marcy Hammond. Legal name would be Marcinda Hammond. I live at the bottom of 775 Monroe. Um, so we have a new mayor, committed to leading the city forward during a time of transition and challenging problems and serving as the leader we need right now. Friday, the phone rang. John Ulrich is my partner of 18 years. Heidi Bakula made a phone call and informed John that the mayor does not have time at this moment or will not ever have time for John. John would be here right now, but he has to have a chaperone or an escort. And the reason why is because of the last mayor. So I'm calling out why I or John cannot have a seat at the table. Missoula Current says, I will carry out the office with purpose, thoughtfulness, kindness, and compassion. So I'd ask you to consider a meeting here to hear my problems and John's problems so we can all have a solution. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment.
And brand new hip, pretty proud of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else tonight?
Good evening, Council. My name is Kevin Hutt. I live at 308 Parkside Lane. I recently sent a letter or an email on, pursuant to Article 2, Sections 8 and 9 of the Oregon Constitution and statutory law, requesting some information regarding the clandestine proceedings that occurred in the back alley September 12th that resolved the issue of who would become interim mayor of Missoula. I'd like to thank Councilor Carlino for forwarding that request on to the City Attorney Nugent, who responded, and I have received his response, which I can summarize in 4 sentences. I wasn't there. I don't know. Where do we draw the line? I think you're speculating. Okay, well, I didn't come up here really to talk about that. I think with that kind of response, the courts can deal with the issue of how the interim mayor was selected. What I've come to do is what I promised you I would do. I'm respectfully demanding, first of all, that the mayor state categorically on the record tonight that the report in the Missoulian that the council censured Councilor Carlino is false. He was never censured. It's outrageous that this got printed, and it's outrageous that not a single one of you has tried to correct it. A censure is a formal vote by a deliberative assembly finding one of its members has fallen below the standards of ethics expected of that member. As hard as it is to libel an elected official, I think it's happened, and I think it's up to you to correct it. And with that, I'm asking that you all apologize to Councilor Carlino, or not all of you, some of you, for insinuating at the last meeting that he was somehow responsible for 21 ballots having been cast without resolving who would be mayor. That deadlock was almost every time 6 votes for Mr. Hess and 5 votes for Mr. Nugent. So in order for Mr. Carlino to have broken the deadlock, he would have had to have cast his vote for Mr. Hess. He didn't support Mr. Hess. Now, if he had cast his vote for Mr. Nugent, that would have only created a tie. In fact, there was one other counselor who did that. Councilor Anderson at one point switched her vote for Mr. Hess to Mr. Rice. Now, interestingly, she wasn't, as Mr. Carlino was, accused of making a mockery of the proceedings. It was only Mr. Carlino who did that. This kind of disingenuous scapegoating of someone on this council because he refuses to toe the insider establishment neoliberal line on this council is reprehensible. And I'm going to find out in a couple minutes, I guess, or before the end of the meeting, I'll find out whether any of you has the integrity to apologize to Mr. Carlino, and whether the mayor has the good ethics to set the record straight that Mr. Carlino was never censured. In closing, all I can say is that this kind of performance as long as I'm still able to walk up to this podium, as long as I still have a keyboard, as long as I still have a voice, is going to be illuminated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Any additional public comment tonight? Anyone online tonight? All right, seeing none, we will move on to item 4, which is announcement of our committee meetings, committee membership appointments, and changes to the committee agendas. Ms. Rabine?
All right, I'm going to share my screen here. Can everyone see?
Yes.
Looks visible for me, so I'm going to say yes. The committee schedule that we're dealing with tonight is for September 21st. That is this coming Wednesday. All committee meetings are held in person here in the City Council chambers at 140 West Pine Street and via Microsoft Teams. We refer to that mode as hybrid mode. Let's talk a little bit about what committee business is coming up. Hang on just a second. All right. The Climate Conservation and Parks Committee will meet this coming Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 9:20. They'll be taking up a contract for timber frame building maintenance services at Silver and Fort Missoula Parks and a change order for engineering services for the Northside Pedestrian Bridge. Those are for change order for engineering services, to be particular. The committee of the whole will meet from 9:35 in the morning until 10:30. They'll be hearing an update from the Food Policy Board. That's a city county board. And they will also be taking up the appointment of the Land Use and Planning Committee chair for City Council. The Land Use and Planning Committee will follow from 10:45 until 11:15. They will be discussing a professional services agreement addendum with Meta Urban Design for work related to an update to the city's growth policy. And the Public Safety, Health, and Operations Committee will meet from 12:15 to 12:45. They will be taking up a purchase of a Toro Groundsmaster, I believe it's both a mower and a snowplow for traffic services. Nope. If it's for traffic services, it's just a snowplow. And a vended fuel contract with High Noon Petroleum to provide fuel for the City of Missoula fleet, and hardware quotes for new servers and storage switches for our IT department. The Housing, Redevelopment, and Community Programs Committee will meet from 1 o'clock to 1:45. They will be having an informational update from the Missoula Housing Authority. And finally, Public Works and Mobility Committee will round out the day from 2 o'clock to 2:35, talking about a subrecipient agreement with Trout Unlimited for the McKinley Lake Decommissioning Project, the professional services agreement with WGM for Kent Central Greenway, South Russell to Regent, and a resolution vacating a public utility easement for the Montana Food Bank Network facility. And that is what we have on committees this coming week on Wednesday.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Are there any changes to the committee schedule? Seeing none, we can move on to the consent agenda. Items on our consent agenda were approved in City Council committee meetings generally unanimously, and they're placed on the consent agenda to save time at council meetings by voting on them as a package. Ms. Rabine will read the list aloud, so citizens watching online or on MCAT will know it's on the consent agenda, and we'll invite community comment before we vote. Ms. Rabine?
Let's unmute, that helps. Tonight's consent agenda is long. We have 17 items. And so let me share my screen so folks watching can view along as I read. Make text a little bit bigger here. That's a little better. Item number 1 is to approve accounts payable in the amount of $1,529,983.08 for checks that are dated September 20th of 2022. Number 2 is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a professional services agreement with Morrison Merrily for the Kelly Island Lift Station rehabilitation at a cost not to exceed $65,548. Lift station is a key part of our water resource recovery plant or wastewater treatment plant. Number 3 is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Doug Smith LLC for the amount of $78,000 for demolition of the existing playground and construction of new playground infrastructure at Red Fern Park. Number 4 is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Valley Landscaping Incorporated for an amount not to exceed $35,660 for site restoration, post-playground construction, and installation at Red Fern Park. And the 5th in a Red Fern Park trifecta is this, to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Great Western Installation Incorporated in the amount of $96,023.95 for supplying and installing the actual playground equipment at Red Fern Park. Number 6 is to confirm the mayor's appointment of Tiffany Brander to the Parking Commission to fill a vacated term that begins immediately and expires on April 30th of 2023. Number 7 is to approve an exemption to Missoula Municipal Code Chapter 9.30 entitled Noise Control to permit relief in accordance with Missoula Municipal Code Chapter 9.30.070 entitled Permit from Noise Level from specified levels during the structural testing in the Orange Street underpass. Number 8 is to approve an exemption also to the noise control section of Missoula Municipal Code, provide relief from noise levels for during the installation of a water main across Stevens Avenue. Number 9 is to set a public hearing on September 26th of 2022 for public notification of the city and county law enforcement justice assistant grant application and approval of a required memorandum of understanding with Missoula County for the application. Number 10 is to approve the purchase of 9 police interceptor patrol vehicles from Duval Ford of Jacksonville, Florida for $57,303.88 each, totaling $515,734.92 for all 9 vehicles. Number 11 is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a pre-trial supported release program contract with Missoula County for $184,558. Number 12 is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign contracts with Montana Department of Commerce, awarding $853,000 to the city of Missoula for a resident-owned community project. They're known as ROCKS in Missoula, and with NeighborWorks of Montana awarding $835,000 as a sub-recipient to create that ROCK or resident-owned community. Number 13 is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign an interlocal agreement with Missoula County for the provision and operation of the Operation Shelter projects for fiscal year 2022 and 2023. Number 14 is to confirm the mayor's appointment of Jacqueline Schrader to the Missoula Civic Television Advisory Commission to fill a vacated term that begins immediately and expires December 31st of 2023. Number 15 is to approve an agreement with Acela, which is the city's permitting software, for one-time data migration in the amount of $50,000 paid for from the building fund, and a software as a service subscription service agreement totaling $1,105,047.92 and for 5 years of software access, updates, maintenance, and storage. And these agreements replace the city's current contract with Acela. Number 16 is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign the engagement letter with Dorsey to provide bond counsel related to tax increment financing for an estimated cost of $30,000. And number 17 is to confirm police officers Tyler Thornock, Kai Tran, Sheffield Halsey, Ashton Bates, and Connor Usher. And that is tonight's consent agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Is there any public comment on the consent agenda? Online, I don't see any. Any council comment or questions? Ms. Anderson.
Just would simply like to welcome the new officially confirmed police officers to the Missoula Police Department and thank them for their service to our community.
Thank you for that. Ms. Jordan.
Thank you. I just wanted to speak to 5.1 or 11, which is the pretrial supported release program. This is an amazing initiative that our municipal court judges have put together based on data that was collected in 2019 and 2020. I'm a little frustrated because myself and a few others from the county wrote a grant to the MacArthur Foundation and won that grant that included money for these two positions. And some folks at the county who are not elected opted to change those strategies, which means that these municipal court judges have to come to us for the money for these positions. And I'm just wanting to voice that out of frustration because we've had the money from the MacArthur Foundation to pay for these. I'm in full support of this initiative and always like to use grant funding when possible. And I'm frustrated when politics get in the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. Ms. Wasika?
Thanks. I would like to vote on 12 and 13 separately, but together.
Okay.
Makes sense. Thanks.
So we will divide the question on 5.12 and 5.13 as a package, and we'll vote on the others together. Anything further? Okay. I'd echo Ms. Anderson's comments. It's always been a pleasure to celebrate our new officers in person, and circumstances are that we're not doing that tonight, but grateful for their service. Without anything further, we can have a roll call vote on the consent agenda, Ms. Rabine.
Okay. I got a note from Ms. Vasika that she wanted to do some separate votes. Is that still the case?
Yes, so
Okay, so
5.12 and 5.13, we can vote on
5.12 and 5.13. So
And
let's
the rest
do the balance of the consent agenda, not those two items. So 1 through 11 and 14 through 17 first. And we'll start the roll with Anderson,
Yes.
Becerra,
Yes.
Carlino,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Nugent,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Vasika,
Yes.
and West.
Yes.
All right. That is, I have 9 ayes and 2 absent. Numbers 12 and 13, let's do those next. Becerra,
Yes.
Carlino,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Nugent,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Vasika,
No.
West,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
All right, would any of you like to change your vote? It's 8 ayes and 1 nay and 2 absent.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. I was about to point out that you skipped me, and then I realized that you didn't skip me. So
You don't get to vote anymore
Yeah, I
unless
know.
there's a tie.
So we don't have any comments from city staff, agencies, community forum, neighborhood councils, boards, commissions, or authorities. We don't have any special presentations or proclamations, nor do we have any items for final consideration. We do have 2 public hearings tonight. State law and our own council rules set guidelines for inviting community comment in a formal way on certain issues. Following a staff report on each item, the city council and mayor invite community comment. We generally hold public comments open for a week and then vote the following week unless there's a requirement to the contrary. So our first public hearing is an ordinance granting TDS Metrocom LLC a cable TV franchise, and I believe Mr. Nugent is Jim Nugent is providing our staff report. Mr. Nugent?
Okay, I think our consultant, Brian Grogan, is also available so that you can have him make a presentation and also answer questions. But what we have here is a second cable television franchise request to her. It's taken probably a year and a half to wade through all the issues and exchange drafts of the lengthy document that you all saw. Brian was the one that negotiated it. He's specializes in cable TV franchises. We've been using him for over a decade for the city cable TV franchises. MCAT was involved. Joe Baird was involved early on and consulted. I had alerted him to be here tonight, but I'm not sure if he is. But I asked for Brian to take over and just explain what this is all about.
Certainly. Just to make sure that everyone can hear me okay, is my mic working effectively? Okay, thank you for the nodding head. That's reassuring. So actually, I've been working with the city now for almost 20 years. Time flies when we're having a lot of fun. But back in 2003, we, the city, adopted a franchise for Charter Communications, which is your current company. It was a 15-year contract that actually expired in 2018. And at that time, the council agreed to extend that for a period of time until we could accomplish renewal. So we sent Charter a draft document to accomplish that renewal. We still are working with Charter to try to reach agreement on that. When TDS came knocking last July seeking a competitive franchise, we gave them the exact same proposed contract. And the goal that the city had was to have nearly identical documents so that no company would be provided an unfair advantage. We would grant them both similar authorization and they could compete for customers in your city. We have reached agreement on the terms of the TDS franchise. It calls for a 10-year franchise. It's a 5% franchise fee on the revenue that TDS will derive from cable television services. So keep in mind that this authorization will let TDS provide broadband services, which is what most people are focused on these days, but we do not collect a fee on broadband. And you may ask, well, why not? And that's because the federal law prohibits the city from imposing a franchise fee on the broadband revenue. So all the different revenue that any company may gather from their cable franchise, we are only allowed to get cable TV revenue for that franchise fee. We have maximized the city's compensation on that issue. We also require a 1.5% fee to support local programming, and that would be the MCAT capital budget, so that that budget then becomes less reliant upon the city general revenue fund for all of its obligations. That fee also requires that Charter will at some point reach that fee, because again, we want parity in any fees that we apply to competing companies. Franchise also requires a $50,000 performance bond that the city can access if TDS should fail to perform under the contract. It requires 2 local channels, one of which is being used tonight to cablecast this meeting. But we have 2 channels, both available in high definition so that MCAT and the city can broadcast local content. We have another channel in reserve should the need arise. Free service obligations to various schools and public buildings that TDS will make available. We also have a pretty strong set of customer service obligations, several pages worth of requirements in addition to your city code obligations, so that should this competition not result in improved customer service, you always have a regulatory fallback position to take so that you can ensure that your constituents are getting solid customer service from the franchised operators. I believe those are the high points of the agreement. There's a lot to these agreements. They're probably 50 pages in length. So I'm happy to answer any specific questions, but for now, I will pause and take any questions that the council may have.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that. We'll go to public comment first, and then we'll come back to questions from council. So at this point, I will open the public hearing and we take public comment on the franchise agreement. Mr. Hunt.
Thank you. Kevin Hunt, 38 Parkside Lane. I didn't know this was on the agenda. I think it's wonderful, and I appreciate the fact that the city is getting an alternative to charter. I'm not surprised a bit that charter apparently is as attentive to the city's requests as it is to its customers, which is abysmal. This is something that's needed. And although I cut the cord quite a long time ago, it'll be nice to have an alternative for broadband services. And when I need, when I need to have a source for alternative facts, I can always come to these meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Any additional public comment online? I don't see anyone. So this public hearing will remain open, and we can, I'd encourage questions tonight since Mr. Grogan is here tonight, if anyone has any questions. Ms. Anderson.
Thanks so much. Since we do happen to have our expert here, is there, I was very first elected and put on the MCTAC board when we were beginning to discuss the cable franchise re-agreement with Charter Spectrum, and here we are many years later. Is this something, that they can continue to drag on at length, or is there any sort of stipulations within it? And can we follow up similar vein in 10 years when we might find ourselves in the same situation with this new franchise agreement?
Thank you, Councilmember. So with respect to Charter Spectrum, since they already hold a franchise in the city, there are some federal provisions that basically indicate that it's the city's obligation to either accept or reject their request for renewal. But if the city were to reject it, it's a fairly lengthy, rather onerous formal process that has to be undertaken. And what the city's objective today is by adopting a new competitive franchise with TDS, the city's hopeful that we'll have essentially established a baseline for what that contract should now look like. And we're hoping that it will lead to some accelerated negotiations with Charter. We have no goal to treat any of these operators in a more favorable or more burdensome manner. So we're hopeful that with this new contract having been adopted, we'll be quick to get to the table and complete the charter renewal. And then to your second question, our goal would be to have them run concurrently and expire in 10 years so that we don't deal with both of them simultaneously in the event there are still cable franchises 10 years from now. Obviously, the industry's evolving quickly, and we shall have to see if, in fact, we have continued cable franchising. But to the extent we do, we'd like them to be concurrent so we can address them at the same exact time.
Thank you, Mr. Grogan. Any additional questions?
Thank you.
All right, seeing none, we've had a public hearing. or a presentation, and our public hearing is open, and we will hold this open until next week, September 26th. Mr. Nugent, I see your hand up. Do you have something to add?
Yes, I do. This came up at committee, and I want to get it in the record here. The monies you receive basically are funding MCAT, the 2 channels in MCAT, plus our consultant. There's a little bit left over, but it's not much. But the lion's share goes to MCAT pursuant to a contract that the city council has entered into and renewed over the years, just so you know where the money goes that is collected by the federal law for the cable TV franchise.
Thanks for that. Okay, I don't see any additional hands up, so we will hold this item open until next week. And we can move on to our second and final public hearing, which is the end of year report for the Community Development Block Grant and Home Investment Partnership Program year 2021. Ms. Lyson.
All right, thank you. Let me share my screen here and get my PowerPoint going. Usually I'd be joined by Karen Gasvoda, but she is sick today, so it will just be me. Okay, so one of the obligations the city must fulfill as an entitlement city for the federal Community Development Block Grant and Home Investment Partnership programs is to prepare a yearly consolidated annual performance and evaluation report, which is known as the CAPER. Each program year runs from July 1st through June 30th, and I'm here today to present on our end of year report for program year 2021. As a reminder, these are federal funds and they don't come out of the city's budget. Each year, the city receives federal funds from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. Missoula has been an entitlement city for CDBG since 1999 and a participating jurisdiction for homes since 2003. These funds help benefit individuals with low and moderate income and leverage resources to improve the supply of affordable housing, public improvements, and public services. The CAPER is our chance to tell the story of what we accomplished using our federal dollars this past year. We report our accomplishments in connection not only to our annual goals as outlined in our annual action plan, but also in relation to the larger goals in our consolidated plan, which is published every 5 years. Program year 2021 was the 3rd year of our 2019 through 2023 consolidated plan. In program year 21, we are awarded nearly $365,000 in home funds and $570,000 in CDBG funds. While we receive approximately the same amount every year, the funds aren't adjusted for inflation, which means that we have to do more, with less money. With those funds, including any program income we received from past projects, we are able to fund a total of 5 projects this year. In 2021, we funded 2 home projects. The goal of the Trinity Apartments project, partially funded in program year 20 as well, is the construction of 202 affordable units on 2 separate sites, and construction continues and is expected to be completed in 2023. In addition, Community Housing Development Organization, or CHODO, operating expense funding was provided to Homeward to support their development of the Trinity Apartments, as well as other HUD-funded projects. In 2021, we funded 3 CDBG projects. These funds supported the YWCA's Meadowlark facility, which opens its doors in May of 2021. The YWCA utilized these funds to provide intakes, assessment, and case management to assist 1 and 2 parent families in obtaining mainstream resources, employment, and permanent housing. They were able to help 270 individuals. And then Homeward served Missoulians through their financial renter and home ownership classes and counseling. These classes helped individuals prepare for home ownership, to be knowledgeable renters, and to plan for financial success. 313 people were helped through this program. The Rapid Intake Project at the Poverello Center provided immediate access for those experiencing homelessness to referrals and appropriate services with a focus on employment and housing. And then our funds helped to support 869 individuals. And then before we wrap up, I wanted to make a brief note. At the start of program year 2021, we initially agreed to fund 2 additional projects, the Trinity Navigation Center and Habitat for Humanity's Down Payment Assistance Program. However, due to circumstances beyond our control, these projects were not funded. The Navigation Center was fortunate enough to utilize other sources, including ARPA funds, and the city's anti-displacement policies prevented the funding of the Habitat project. As required by HUD, we will return later this year with an amendment to the program year 2021 action plan in regard to the Habitat project. And then the projects I outlined in this presentation will have a lasting impact for our community, and you can see the overview of our outcomes here. And then we welcome comments on our caper. If you can do so by going to engagemissoula.com until September 26th, next Monday, or you can reach Karen or myself at the email address listed here. And all public comments will be included in the final caper submitted to HUD. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lysom. We can now open the public hearing. Are there any public comments on this year-end report? I'm not seeing anyone in the room or online. And Mr. Nugent, your hand is up on one of the screens here. I don't see it on mine. I just want to, okay. So we can, are there any questions from council members? Okay, seeing none, we will hold this open until next week. So that concludes our public hearings. We have no committee reports. We do have one item of new business, and this is the election of a city council vice president. And Ms. Rabine, could you give us a rundown on process just for the benefit of anyone watching?
Yes. So Jordan Hess, who was appointed mayor last week, was the city council's vice president, and the city council rules state that the election of officers takes place under new business. We're going to need to do some amendments to our rules because they do not talk about doing a midterm election in the event of a vacancy, or maybe somebody doesn't want to serve anymore in one of your officer positions. So I want to look at it, amending your rules just a touch, but the appropriate motion tonight is to nominate someone as city council vice president, and we will do a roll call by last name again in selecting that person to fulfill that role. The city council vice president has a couple of formal duties in that if both the mayor and the council president are absent, they would preside at your meetings. And I believe there is a committee that the vice president serves on, and that's provided for in your roles. So those are the formal roles that are in your rules. And I'm here if you have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. So with that, any questions from council? Okay, I think we could open up for nominations if anyone would like to make a nomination. Ms. Becerra.
I would like to nominate Stacy Anderson, and whenever appropriate, I would like to comment.
Okay, let's just do nominations for now. Are there any additional nominations? Ms. Vasica.
I would like to nominate myself.
Okay. And anyone else? Okay, so now we can go ahead and do, I'll do the same order. I'll do Ms. Becerra and then Ms. Vasica, and then anyone else who would like to speak. Go ahead, Ms. Becerra.
Thank you. I nominated Stacy Anderson because I think that she's been wanting to serve, and I think it's important to have someone who wants to be in that role. I think that she brings experience and an attitude of collaboration. And I feel confident that she will do a great job along President Jones in providing guidance to this council, representing this council, and being our council ambassadors in the community. So for all those reasons, I will be supporting Stacey Anderson.
Thank you. Ms. Vasica?
There's no doubt that Stacey would be great at this job. I also think that I would be good at it as well. I have years of experience collaborating with folks that don't agree with me, and I think that I would take on this role very seriously. I would put aside personal beliefs to work together and collaborate. And I believe that I have the responsibility to, I believe that I'd be able to work with Gwen, work with Jordan in dispatching the duties of the vice president in case you two aren't available for the night. So, and I have, although Stacey has chaired public safety and health longer than I have, I only got to do part of a meeting. I was president of MCTAC when I was on that board. Actually, no, I was vice president. Sorry about that. So I do have experience in running meetings. So I believe that I would, I think I'd be good at this job.
Thank you. Anyone else want to comment? Ms. Jones?
Sure. I appreciate people throwing their hat into the ring to basically sign up for more work in what is already not necessarily a well-paid position. So I really appreciate that and appreciate people stepping up. Just as some background, historically, it has typically been based on seniority over the years. Not that that's a hard and fast rule, but I just wanted to provide that insight. So I appreciate, Sandra, you throwing your hat in the ring. I think I will support Stacey in this. She's been on council not quite as long as me, but a long time. Anyway, appreciate everyone being willing to serve.
Any additional comments, Mr. Carlino?
Yeah, I think both nominees would be great at being vice president. And I think I'm going to actually vote for Sandy for this one, just because of her firm commitment to free speech and allowing seeing all sides of the issue. And not to say that Stacey doesn't do that as well, but I just think a balance in leadership as well could be good. But I think either nominee would be great for vice president.
Okay, thanks. Additional comments? Ms. Jordan?
Ms. Anderson and Ms. Vasica. Before now, I had no idea that you were interested in running, Sandy, and I wish that you had reached out. Like Daniel, I think that both would do an excellent job. And in light of supporting people who don't always think along the same vein as me, I think I'd like to change my vote and offer it to Sandy Vasica. Because I do think that that Sandy does represent members of our community that don't always get a voice, and I appreciate your friendship and your professionalism on the board, and I will be voting for you. And Stacey, I apologize, but I didn't have all the information I needed, so thank you.
Additional comments? Would anyone from the public like to comment? Mr. Hunt.
Thank you, Kevin Hutt, 38 Parkside Lane. I think either of them is eminently qualified for the position. I'm pleased to see that there's support for Ms. Vasica. She has reached out to me knowing that I'm on the left and she's on the right, and we have found a lot of common ground, and I'm aware of her collaboration with Kristen Jordan that brought us the mobile crisis response unit, which just shows how she's willing to collaborate. And for all the reasons given by Mr. Carlino and Ms. Jordan, I hope that more of you will consider voting for Senator Vasica. Thank you.
Thank you. I have an online comment from Ms. Stenslin Bickers, and Diane, I think you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Hello, this is Diane Stenslin Bickers, and I'd like to voice support for Stacey, please. I like both women, and I just prefer to have Stacey.
Stacy in this position. Thank you.
Thanks for your comment. Don't see any additional comment. And so I think we can go to a vote. Before that, I want to just express my gratitude to both of you for stepping up, and look forward to working with both of you in this capacity and in the continued capacity on council. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Rabine for a vote.
Sorry, folks, I've been trying to troubleshoot our eScribe stream tonight. A couple of server reboots have not solved my problem. So, Carlina.
Fiscal.
All right. Hess. Oops, sorry. Not allowed. Jones.
Anderson.
Jordan.
Vasika.
Nugent.
Anderson.
Savage.
Anderson.
Okay. Vasika.
Vasika.
West.
Anderson.
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 And Becerra.
Anderson.
All right. Would any of you like to change your vote? Six votes for Anderson. And 3 votes for Vasika. And 2 absent.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Congratulations, Ms. Anderson, and thank you for your willingness to serve, Ms. Vasika. That's it for the meeting. We'll move on to communications from the mayor. I want to say that I'm very grateful to be here and hopefully move us forward after a period of immense uncertainty. It's been an incredible week with an outpouring of support from around the community, people I haven't been in contact with in a very long time, reaching out in some cases, and that's been really meaningful. And so I want to thank people for doing that. It's been a whirlwind of a week, a ton of information, a ton of meeting some staff that I hadn't met before, becoming acquainted with a variety of issues. I am, as the saying goes, drinking from a fire hose, and I'm splashing a lot in the process, and so I've missed a few things, and I appreciate everyone's patience as I learn and get up to speed. I want to give a shout out to the city staff who have helped with my onboarding process. The staff in the mayor's office is phenomenal and has kept good tabs on me and kept me pointed in the right direction. And I want to thank everyone for your patience and grace as I settle into this. With that, we can go to council comments from council, and we can start with Ms. Vasika.
Thank you, and congratulations, Stacy. I know that you'll do a very good job. Probably give me more work as vice chair for public safety and health, but that's all right. Also, congratulations again, Jordan. You did a great job tonight.
Ms. Savage.
I'll pass tonight.
Ms. Jordan.
I'll pass. Thank you.
Ms. Jones.
I'll pass.
Mr. Carlino.
Yeah, I just wanted to address the one woman's comment from earlier. I just think it's really important that we find somebody from the city, if not their council member, to talk to constituents whenever they reach out. And I know sometimes it can be difficult with different people, but I think, John deserves to have one of us reach out to him or somebody from the city to help with the problem, just like anybody else in Missoula does. So I just hope that we just don't let anybody slip through the cracks when they email all the council or try and reach out to somebody, that we touch base and talk to everybody that reaches out to us.
And Ms. Becerra.
I'll pass. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Nugent.
I was like, is he skipping me? Just quickly, the Midtown Association is in the middle of their master planning, which is going to be wonderful for Midtown and Ward 4 and all the above. And they have a great listening session at the YMCA from 6 to 8 on, I believe it's September 27th, but somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. You can drop in anytime. They have childcare, and you can share kind of your visions or things that you want for Midtown. And I would encourage you all to give that a try. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. West.
So I just want to give a giant thank you to Kalina from the Office of Neighborhoods for helping with the Heart of Missoula cleanup this weekend. I think it was pretty well attended for the first one. And then also a big thank you to the owners of Bathing Beauty Beads, Hunter Bay Coffee, and Draftworks for organizing a neighborhood block party. And it was really lovely, and the weather was great. And hopefully it'll become an annual tradition. So thanks.
Thanks. And Ms. Anderson.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for your vote, and I look forward to working with all of you. And thank you, Ms. Vasika, for your willingness to serve as well. And I just want to make an announcement that the flu season is here. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I've heard from several people I know who have gotten it, and it's nasty this year. So I would encourage everybody to seek out a flu vaccine as soon as possible. And I know that there are mobile vaccination units going around the various parts of the county, and you can find out all the information on the City County Health Department's website. So encourage folks to take advantage of that when possible. And this weekend is the University of Montana homecoming game. Go Grizz. And I know that there is going to be a parade, but it is a different parade route than in the past. It is going down, starting at, I believe it's Sentinel High School, going down south towards Dornblazer Field. So get out there and support your community and your hometown football team. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. There is one miscellaneous communication report and announcement on the agenda, and that's our standing administratively approved agreement report. I'll just draw attention to that. And seeing, Ms. Vasika?
Gwen mentioned wanting to make an announcement about the Ward 2 application.
Ms. Jones?
Right. Regarding the Ward 2 application, Marty, I'm going to have you help me with specifics, but I wanted to remind everyone the Ward 2 application is open. There was a small glitch over the weekend, so for a period of time, it was hard to access off of one direction, but you could Google it and get to it. But my understanding is it was opened as of late Sunday afternoon. It's wide open. We hope to get lots of good applications. And Marty, could you reiterate when those applications are due on this Thursday, what time they're due?
Applications are due Thursday, the 22nd at noon. And for folks in our viewing audience who might be wanting to apply, one of the things that I'd encourage you to do, in addition to submitting a fantastic application, is to check your voter registration and make sure that your voter registration address is A, located in Ward 2, and B, that it is up to date and matches your application. You can go to the Montana My Voter page on their website and look up your voter registration and see what your voter registration address is that's of record with the county. And if it doesn't match the where you currently live, that doesn't mean you can't serve. It just means that if you live in Ward 2, we would like to see the address that you're registered to vote at match your voting application. That'll save us a little bit of time in our vetting process. So thanks, and we can't wait to get applications from folks who want to serve the community on Ward 2.
Thanks, Ms. Rabine, for highlighting that. And I don't see any additional comments, so thank you all for your service, and we'll be adjourned.